Chapter 10, Villains on Necessity. As Ali suggested, I decided to leave during lunch. I didn't have an immediate need to go home, but the last few days had been kind of a whirlwind. Sulking at home wasn't going to help, but I felt I could use the downtime. And I really wanted to go home, shut myself in my room, and plot how to broach the subject of fairies, changelings, and our rather convoluted past with Spencer. Ali drove me back during lunch and dropped me off. I hadn't told Spencer I'd be coming home, but he was standing right inside the foyer when I entered. Hi. I want to talk to you. Oh. Okay. Can I finish coming inside the house first? Like it or not, I do live here. I shut the front door and set my things on the floor as I slipped my shoes off, mind working furiously. What did he want to talk about? Well, he's not trying to kill you, so this is a good sign. The entire time, Spencer stood near the foot of the stairs watching me suspiciously, as if guarding the house from me. I saw that fight this morning. I want you to tell me what's going on. The truth. I know it's something weird. I saw everything that happened. Everything. I don't know why everyone else forgot about it, but I didn't. I remember exactly what happened. I looked at him carefully. Is he saying that it didn't work on him when Velos altered everyone's memories? Is that possible? I was right about the club, wasn't I? It's not normal. I tipped my head to the side and studied him, mind working furiously. I hadn't quite been prepared for this. I wanted to talk to him about it all, but I wanted to plan for it, not spontaneously reveal everything. I mean, how reasonable was he actually going to be about all this? If I tell you the truth, you have to promise to listen. Really listen. If you can't promise at least that much, then I'm going to act like this conversation never happened. And you can keep wondering if what you remember is real or not. I know it's real. I saw what happened to Danny's face. I know you've been sneaking out at night, sprinkling weird stuff in your door. How does he notice that stuff? All that spying and stalking paid off, then? Spencer glowered at me, but quickly looked away, expression dark. Well, it's not like he could deny it anyway. It's not just that. There's something in the house, too. Something small and weird. I keep seeing it out of the corner of my eyes. Whoa, what? He could see the brownie? Since when? I know you've been leaving a bowl of milk for it in the basement. I mean, it's chapter 10. It's time to come clean. Werewolves are probably about to break down this door and carry me off into the woods, so you know what, Spencer? Let's mend the bond. I didn't think we were going to get anywhere from me denying anything at this point, though I was curious exactly how much he'd actually been spying. I'd known he was watching me, but I really had thought I was careful with some of that stuff, and he'd seen it all anyway. I was walking around with my head in the clouds, freaking out, and Spencer was off cataloging everything I was doing. Jeez. Okay, yes. I've also seen that thing. And yeah, I put out milk for it because somehow you pissed it off and I was trying to appease it. Because I got sick of you blaming me for what it was doing. So that thing is what was pranking me. Yes. So I need an apology for every single time you blamed me. He didn't smile. Who are you? Really? What are you? And where's my real sister? I studied his face carefully. He was dead serious, and I wasn't sure how to proceed. I hadn't been expecting to have this conversation today. I just hoped it wouldn't be too difficult to convince him I was telling the truth. But I didn't know what opinions he'd already formed or if I'd be able to change them. At the very least, it was obvious that he had doubled down on his idea that I was not, well, me. Which was understandable, considering some of what he'd probably observed. It would be nice to clear the air and have one less thing to worry about. But why did it have to be today? I took a deep breath. I'll talk to you, but you have to promise to hear me out. And believe me. I don't know if you can ask someone to promise to believe you. You can ask them to promise to hear you out, but I don't know if it's fair to ask him to believe you. Even I just found out some of this stuff, all of it, recently. Very recently. And there are still some gaps. Answers I don't have, things I don't remember. But I'll tell you what I do know. I'm listening. If you're going to freak out and call me a liar, and I said I'm listening, then I'm going to get something to drink. I don't want to stand here and talk in the doorway. Spencer followed me to the kitchen, and as I started making hot chocolate for us, took a seat at the kitchen table. He was nervous. I could tell as I watched him from the corner of my eye. His entire body was tense, and his fingers were laced so tightly that his knuckles were turning white. He's scared of me, isn't he? That made me sad. I set the kettle on the stove and turned to face him, expression grim. First of all, I want to clear something up, because it's apparently been an issue for the last 5 years, and I'm a bit tired of it already. I am your sister. Biologically, genetically. The same sister that shared a room with you as a child. The same one that spent 9 freaking months in the same womb. So stop acting like I'm a monster. I'm not. That said, now I at least understand why you may have thought that for so long, and probably still think it. But you didn't have the whole story, and neither did I. Do I? But I do know more than I did a few weeks ago. Until Sunday, I was a changeling. A what? A human baby snatched by fairies, basically? Fairies? Look. Do you remember the hill out behind our old house? That place. This is important. Do you remember it? I've been dreaming about that place recently. Do you remember the time you went inside it? He looked at me, eyes wide. That was real? You went inside and were missing for several days. Everyone was looking for you. I remember that. I just thought it was a dream. It wasn't a dream. It was real. I went in after you, and I made a deal with them to get you out. Remember that? Then they came to take you away, but in the morning you were still there. I thought they decided to leave you. I thought they decided to be nice, to let you stay. But then 5 years ago when you vanished. The water started boiling, and I went to pull the kettle off as I listened. I was with the search group, and I heard singing. Just lots of little voices like we used to hear when we were little. I'd forgotten about that. Lately, I've been trying to write down some of the things I could recall from back then. I'd forgotten the voices, though. We'd play in the woods and hear music. Like a chorus of small voices. We tried to follow them, but they'd vanish when we got close. That was the same music I'd heard in my sleepwalking. I heard it that day, too, and followed it to a clearing. And she... I saw you with white hair, dancing in a circle with... Well, they were... fairies? He grimaced as if not wanting to admit that. I could understand. Fairies were probably difficult for his science-oriented brain to handle. I guess that's what they were. Anyway, they saw me and swarmed around her like they were going to protect her. And then they came after me. I ran, but they were faster. He touched his eye. So they had been the ones that did that to him. Those jerks. Well, she's gone now. Gone where? I noticed that he didn't really question the existence of fairies. That probably said a lot about how much he'd seen and guessed. Back home, I guess. Something happened on Halloween. We don't know what. But something broke the contract and forced her to return me to my original body and bring me back home. Your original body? Yeah. There was some soul swapping around. It was how she managed to convince everyone, well, almost everyone, that I was just a normal human girl, because she was hiding behind me the whole time. You thought they didn't take me because, in a way, they didn't. They just took my body, and the changeling stayed here, just waiting to cart my soul off to fairies so they could stick me back in my body and use me for breeding stock. Because that's what fairies do. Because they suck. Why would they just return you if you went through all the trouble to swap your souls around in the first place? Because Fae are really particular about their contracts. When they set up rules, they follow them. He crossed his arms and looked at me. How do I know you're not just making this up because I found out your secret? I saw you in the woods that time. I saw you all those times you sneaked out. I guess you don't. I don't really have a way to prove I'm me. We were silent as I scooped the hot chocolate into the mugs and poured the hot water over them. I set the hot chocolate down in front of him before pulling up a chair on the other side of the table. They took the sight in that eye because they didn't want you to be able to see them anymore, didn't they? Oh, that's why. I've been wondering about, why the eye specifically. So it dampened his, spirit vision, if you will. Or paranormal vision. Interesting. He nodded. I don't remember any of it. I don't remember anything that happened any time she was in control, which I guess is what was going on both times I vanished. Sometimes when I'd sneak out at night, I'd manage to get control back. I would wake up and think I'd been sleepwalking. She got me out to the woods several times. I assumed she was aiming to run off to Fairy with me in the middle of the night. The things you saw me sprinkling in the doorway are some herb mixtures Allie gave me. They repel fairies, so I was using them to keep myself in my room at night. Allie did it. Remembering how my head was reeling after I'd first learned all of this, I could definitely imagine how he felt right then. She's a witch, a literal one, that uses magic. And yes, you were basically right about the club. Weird things go on there because all the members in it are, not quite normal. Could almost say they're paranormal. In fact, there's a whole community of paranormal and supernatural creatures that kind of runs around right in plain sight. So that's a thing that happens. Are you really back to normal? I am. Sunday night, I just woke up in the backyard. I don't remember what happened, but we've kind of pieced together that someone else broke the contract. For annoyingly complicated reasons. I'm me. More me than I've apparently been in a long time. Oh, but apparently I'm not a normal human anymore because I was in freaking fairy for a decade and the fairy magic turned me into a mutant. Or something. It's true. Spencer just sighed. He wasn't arguing, so that was a good sign, I suppose. I mean, I confirmed with several people. A couple of wizards, another ex-changeling, Velos, the school librarian. What? Wizard. Grumpy wizard. Works in a magic library hidden in the school. Seriously? It's a thing. The little guy you see around the house is a brownie. They get attached to houses and just live there quietly. Usually. But if you make them mad, they tend to prank you mercilessly as punishment. All that stuff about changelings is pretty unbelievable. Right? But like, the rest of it all makes total sense. I get it. None of it's believable. But I know that's real because I've seen enough to know it could be real. 5 years ago. Right in front of me, you just faded back into Nora like putting on a coat. That wasn't me, though. It was her. When we moved back here, everything started falling apart and I started realizing something was wrong with me. All those times I woke up outside at night, and being pulled into the club, which only happened because I saw Corvin's stupid magic book. Corvin Beltran? That guy? He's a wizard too. That's a little terrifying. You have no idea. Right? What about everyone else in the club then? Well, Ewan is Fae. Ewan? That tall kid that rides the motorcycle? Yep. Fairy. I know, it's weird. Elliot's a vampire. It's true. So is Mark Lowe, that really stuck-up blonde. Somehow with him, I'm not surprised. Right? He sighed, rubbing at his head. I laughed gently, glad that he seemed to be listening, and at least somewhat entertaining the possibility this was all true. I know the feeling. Trust me. The first time they took me to the club room involved a fainting episode for me, so... What about Danny? He's also in the club, right? This morning. His face. Werewolf? Your boyfriend is a werewolf. He's not my boyfriend, really. I guess it makes sense with what I saw this morning. Yeah, how do you remember what happened? I mean, they were supposed to sort of alter the memories about that. I saw him do it. Velos, the librarian wizard guy. I mean, I think I did. He did something. And suddenly everyone calmed down. When they started talking about the fight again, it was like they'd forgotten what really happened. But it didn't work on you. Spencer shook his head. I don't know why it wouldn't. Is that why you decided to sit down and suddenly have a calm conversation about it all? Well, that was... I sort of read that journal you've been writing. What? You didn't say anything about that! Well, I figured you'd get all huffy about it. Yeah? Look, I only read some of it, okay? I don't really remember that code very well. You told me you didn't remember it at all! Well, I lied, okay? Back then, I just didn't want to deal with any of that. You kept writing notes trying to apologize. I couldn't deal with it back then. Fine. So you read my journal like the little sneak you are? And what? I mean, I didn't understand everything I was reading, and there were bits I couldn't read at all. I just got the feeling you were confused or something about what was happening. And then, well, I don't know. After Sunday, you just felt different. I can't explain it. I guess I just thought that with Mom and Dad gone, I should just ask. I was just tired of living without knowing what was going on. I looked at him over the top of my mug as I took a long drink. Can I assume you believe me? He was silent for a moment, staring down into his mug. I'm not sure that I buy everything. Swapped bodies and soul transfers. I'm not saying I buy that, but I believe some of it. We were silent for a long time. I sipped at my hot chocolate, wondering if there was a way to make him believe me. This is a lot. I know. And like I said, I don't have all the answers. I guess if you're still worried, you can try some of the tricks designed to force a changeling to leave and see if they work on me. Preferably the ones that don't involve killing me. Killing? Apparently, a really good way to break a changeling contract is by killing the changeling. There are less violent methods, though. Does that mean you didn't look into that this time around? Because I'm okay with that. I really hope Sean and Derek did not kill that fairy to make her leave. Just the thought of it was worrying. Well, that's why I'm kind of not absolutely furious with Sean and Derek. Because, I mean, they wanted to get rid of you. And, I mean, if they were really, really, really bad, they would not have hesitated to just kill you. I mean, that's a pretty permanent way to make sure you never come back. But they were going to leave you alive. Granted, you were going to be stuck in fairy forever, but they weren't going to outright kill you. So, like, in a messed up way, that was kind of merciful of them, but I'm still plenty upset at them. Don't get me wrong. I'm just like, well, they could have just outright killed me. So there's, like, a nugget of goodness there. Just, like, a small little nugget. Anyway. There were times I thought it would be best if you were dead. Or if I was dead. I thought it was the only way to end the nightmare I was in. I wish I'd known you were in a nightmare all this time. I thought you just were mad at me. I didn't know anything. Now it feels like I was in a nightmare all this time too. I just didn't know it. I'm not sure I believe you yet, you know. I know. But at least this way I don't have to hide things from you anymore. Spencer took a long sip from his hot chocolate. It's good. I was kind of enjoying just sitting there. Just the two of us. We hadn't done anything like that in so long. I feel like I need to go soak my head for a while. I know the feeling. I didn't want to spring all this on you so suddenly, but I'm glad we talked. I've been wanting to talk to you about this for a while now. I'm glad you finally told me. Listen. I mean, can't we do both? I mean, he just said, like, at the time he wasn't ready for, like, he couldn't deal with all the apologies and everything. And she has, like, apologized for so many years. But I don't know if he's, like, ready to hang out with me, too? Although, by offering to go for a walk, I'm kind of leaving it up to him. Like, I'm not forcing more apologies onto him, expecting him to forgive me and believe me. I'm just like, hey, you want to hang out? And then he can decide, like, okay, I believe enough of that I'll spend time with you. Or he can hang back and say, look, maybe tomorrow, but, like, right now I need to go soak my head, okay? I think I'm gonna go for option number 2. Assuming I can get there. Wanna go for a walk? Just get out of the house, clear our heads a little? I feel like I could use some fresh air. Sure. Just let me rinse the mugs really fast. Okay, said yes. I'm shocked. I grabbed our nearly empty hot chocolate mugs and went to rinse them so I could avoid scrubbing the dried hot chocolate out later. Good call. Excuse me. I left them in the sink and looked around for where I'd left my phone. I'll take mine. If Mom texts, she'll probably text me first. Truth. What? Why you? She says I notice her messages first. I made a face. It wasn't my fault he never got text from anyone else and instantly knew every text was something important. Uh-huh. Fine, fine. Take yours. I was still feeling a little awkward as we went to the front together. It definitely felt like there had been a shift toward the positive in our relationship, but just talking didn't erase the 5 years of avoiding each other, the arguing, the hurt we'd inflicted. Interacting was strange, like trying to struggle into an outfit that no longer fit. Yeah, but I mean, you gotta start somewhere. I slipped on a pair of flats by the door as Spencer stepped onto the porch, then followed behind, pulling the door shut. It's getting chilly. Yeah, nights are pretty cold now. I'm glad I managed to curb the whole sleepwalking thing for sure. I wonder what would have happened if we hadn't come back to Pine Hollow. I don't know. In the end, it was coming back that kind of set me on the path to figuring out something was going on. Because I realized I was going out at night. Because I found out I might be Fae, and that made me look into our history again. If we'd stayed in the city, I probably wouldn't have learned anything. And I don't know where we'd be now. It feels like this place hasn't been great for us, but coming back might have been worth it. For this. He stopped at the end of the driveway and sighed. I feel like all this was my fault. If I hadn't gone into that stupid hill. It's pointless to try to assign blame, and they were the ones who took advantage of us both. We were just kids. Anyway, it's time to just move on, I think. Past is past. I mean, fairies and changelings aside, if we can just stop fighting all the time now, I'll be glad. I'm sure Mom will. Mom! Shoot! I forgot my phone! After all that talk and smugness, sheesh. He started back to the house as I rolled my eyes. If I get kidnapped out here while you're getting the phone, I'm going to bop you on the head, bro. Spencer, come on, you literally said you'd bring yours. Just wait a minute, okay? I'll be right... Who's that? Huh? Spencer! I turned around as a black car slid to a stop behind me. I recognized it instantly as Liam's. Spencer, get into the house! What? Go! Look out! Spencer was just inside Allie's barrier, but I hadn't quite caught up to him when someone grabbed me from behind. Ah, man! I screamed and kicked my feet.
Sorry, Miss Lewis. I'm going to have you come with us now.
Nora! He grabbed my arm and tried to pull me back toward the house. A large, grayish wolf I hadn't realized was with Liam lunged at Spencer, swiping at him with a claw. Spencer screamed and staggered back, clutching at his arm as blood dripped down. Thanks for trying to save me, bro, but get out of here. The wolf hit the barrier with an audible thud and paced along it as Spencer stared in horror. Spencer, just stay there. You'll be fine. Nora, I'm fine. Just stay in there. Liam dragged me back to the car. I struggled, but it didn't do much good. He practically threw me in the back seat. Call Danny and tell him Liam and Rachel have taken me away. I craned my head to check that Spencer was okay. The wolf gave up pacing the barrier and bounded to the car, jumping in beside me. Liam slammed the door and we were driving off down the street, leaving Spencer behind.